Humiliation. Gotta love that one. General Mark Milley must be removed from his position of authority immediately. He's a danger to America's national security. Immediately after that, he needs to be court-martialed for treason against America. As we now know, he was colluding with the communist regime in China as recently as January of this year. The explosive accusations coming from two top Washington Post reporters. And let me tell you, it's damning to an already failed military general. Humiliation. Even before these new revelations saw the light of day, we were calling for the resignation of General Milley on this show. A long time ago, he was the Afghanistan failure. He was at the very center of our prior calling for this loser's job because it was his failed plan for leaving Afghanistan and the death of those poor decisions caused, which triggered our demand that Milley be relieved of his duties before any more Americans died, serving his sorry backside. Aside from his incompetence, it was Milley's blatant lying about what he knew and when he knew it with regards to the deadly Taliban's taking of Kabul. General Milley, a weak little man, was caught up in defending a failed mission, which he planned. Remember, folks, General Milley was put on his big boy voice when we did this, big boy voice, and scrunched his face to make it seem like he really meant what he was saying. He looked the cameras in the eye and told America he had no clue the Taliban was capable of taking Afghanistan in 11 days.
There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of this army and this government in 11 days.
Well, there are more holes in that story than the iceberg made in the Titanic. First off, the general was warned about the imminent Taliban takeover by our own people. On July 23rd, 23 U.S. diplomats from our Kabul embassy sent that now infamous cable to the State Department, the Pentagon, and again, probably to the White House. On July 23rd, they were warned ahead of time. On August 18th, General Milley denied any knowledge of the coming Taliban takeover, flat out lying to our faces. But let's think about this for just a minute. This man is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of the military, meaning Milley had the intel of all the branches of the military at his disposal. He had the Army, he had the Navy, he had the Air Force, he had the Marines, and he had the Space Force, all at his fingertips, providing Milley with intel and assessments on the ground in Afghanistan. So you mean to tell us, General, that you had no clue about what was taking place right under your nose? Look at this map, folks. We've been showing you this map many times, but look at it one more time. Look at the animation. It shows the timeline of the Taliban taking over Afghanistan, and it starts as recently as April. So April, May, June, July. Even a layman can see that the Taliban was rapidly closing in on Kabul. How dare Milley say he had no idea the Taliban would take Kabul so fast? He lied, and Americans died. And now, thanks to a couple of Washington Post reporters, we find out that General Milley has also done the unthinkable. General Milley was calling a general in the communist China military and said, quote, "If we're going to attack, meaning the U.S., I'm going to call you ahead of time. It's not going to be a surprise for them." Basically, Milley promised he would provide the Chinese with intel if then-President Donald Trump was planning any military moves against them. The Chinese, our most dangerous global threat. That is textbook treason right there, folks. There have been people who've been executed in this country for less than what Milley has already allegedly done. An additional bombshell claim came out yesterday as well. According to the reporters, Milley summoned senior officials and told them that even though it was Trump's decision alone to launch a nuclear, or if it was going to be Trump's decision to launch the nuclear weapons, these people, these generals, would get Milley involved. They would have to ask Milley if that was going to be okay. Milley even went around the room and forced these officers to look him in the eye and declare their allegiance to him and his plans. Now, can you imagine the audacity of this guy to demand everyone's allegiance as he was plotting with the Chinese, the communist Chinese, to undermine a seated U.S. president? No, this man abused his power. He betrayed this country. He must be court-martialed. In hindsight, this is a man who planned the exit of Kabul that got Americans killed and has left hundreds behind, stranded in a foreign country with a new government that is proven to be ruthless, murdering terrorists. This same man is also known to be willing to collude with another one of our sworn enemies, Communist China. So some might say perhaps Milley, maybe he's not acting in the best interest of America. His actions suggest he may be working for a foreign government. Is that possible? Is he on the take at the expense of American lives? Was he selling information to the Chinese? How can we be sure he wasn't? There's one way, by military tribunal. That's how. So it's high time General Milley answers to the American people in a courtroom, not just that upcoming September 28th hearing where the Democrats, the people who put that rat in Democrat Party, will block and tackle for this traitor. After all, it's their traitor.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.